Hello and welcome back to Engage People's Get to Know the Team. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, our founder, Paul McClatchie. Engage People is a niche recruiting firm specializing in the financial arena. Our areas of expertise include accountancy, banking, international financial services, and insurance. Paul founded Engage People in 2016 and on 3 core values: to shape a better future, make it happen, and find the right fit. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks very much, Grace. Well, it's certainly nice to be a guest. So delighted to be here with you today.
How have you been doing from a personal perspective during this lockdown?
The sun is shining outside. I think we're all doing our best. Obviously, it came as a big surprise. Thankfully, leading into this, from a business perspective, we had a very positive Q4 last year, and last year was good in general. January and February were strong, so the period of time coming into this obviously was good, and that laid a good sort of foundation. I think from a sort of a personal perspective, you really have a lot of time back. When you're in an office, the phone's always ringing. There's people asking you, various questions, but a lot of your day is sort of taken up by stuff that you're responding to or you're effectively reacting to. I think with remote working can be a lot more proactive in terms of how you want to use your time and invest your time. So that's been great, and I certainly found that very useful. I think from a market perspective, I think the period around March was challenging. There was quite a few scenarios where people had resigned from jobs. They were due to start other roles, and there was roles process put on hold. But I guess just from a situation perspective, we're all in it together. I think most people sort of understood, what the reality was. And by and large, I wouldn't say for a second now that we've totally sort of pulled through, because, there's an uncertainty of what lies ahead. But I think we're probably in a slightly better position than maybe I would have expected in March. So, but by and large, good. And I think from a team perspective, it's been fantastic. Just, the effort that everyone's made, and just the stuff we've been able to work on, maybe away from our desks, which I think has been really useful. Will benefit us for the future.
Yeah, it's been great seeing people kind of rising to the occasion and really just outdoing themselves with the amount of effort they've been putting in, dedication. So taking it back to kind of the foundations, what led you to found Engage People, Paul?
So I guess, for want of a better phrase, I'm a recruitment lifer. So I graduated in 2001. I did my thesis when I was in college on the impact that the internet was having on recruitment. So that'll tell you a story as to how long I've worked in the sector. I guess I always had surrounded myself with entrepreneurs. On a fairly consistent basis, people say to you, look, you should run your own business. And if you find yourself arguing against people when it's clearly, was in my best interest to certainly give it a go. It was obviously a big decision at the time. I'd worked for my previous company, CPL, for 10 years, and enjoyed that time. So I because I am career focused. I'm a hard worker. No one's really ever going to work as hard as you are, when it comes to your own business. So I knew if I was able to put my time and energy into setting up my own business, around finding that right fit, making it happen in terms of the energy that we put into the process, and then the shaping a better future. And look, it's been an amazing journey, I have to say, over the last 3 or 4 years at this point.
Yeah, you really did found it on that make it happen attitude.
Because I'd worked in the sector for a long period of time, I spoke to 3 or 4 people in particular who had set up their own businesses, and I found other business owners incredibly giving with their time. It requires, I guess, a lot of character to be able to follow through with it. Just try to sort of pay that back in relation to other people. If I ever see someone who's setting up their own business who I know, and even if I marginally know them, I always pop them a note and say, look, I wish you the very best of luck. Very happy to chat through the learning experience that I had along the way. In relation to sort of business mentors, as you know, we do a lot of work with Shane Craddock. We find him to be very, very good. There's a particularly good network of people who are sort of bounce back and forward with. I think ultimately you have to have your own, you have to make your own decision.
Yeah, for sure. And was there any kind of really uncomfortable or difficult situations that you experienced right out the gate?
Before I sort of engaged people, I worked through the last economic downturn, 2008, 2009, 2010. It was extremely difficult. And, went from, I was a manager at the time, to downsize the company significantly. A number of people I was friends with, who would have been asking, look, what's the story? And, ultimately I had to let people go. And I found that obviously challenging at the time. The March period with COVID-19 was challenging, initially challenging. I think because, thankfully enough, I feel I'm probably robust in my mindset. I tend not to sort of panic, and I just really focus on what's in our control. It was completely uncharted territory. And I just think that's what we're looking at week to week at the moment. What's focused, what we can do, that we can be active, or how we can be active in terms of improving things.
And getting into kind of the big question on everyone's mind, what kind of is your best question that you ask when interviewing? How do you get to know if the candidate's the perfect fit, whether it be within your company or for a role that you're filling for a client?
So I recruit finance directors and CFOs, and very often one of the key skills is the ability to articulate, key financial information across a business, so it's communication skills, rapport building, I think, is key. I think when I get chatting to people, I guess the self-awareness piece is important, so I generally, as we go through a sort of a conversation, I always introduce myself, because I think if you're looking at someone's CV, I mean, it's a really confidential document, and that's something we really want to respect. So I would generally ask them about their reputation within the business. What were they known for? So I guess if you were to move that a step further, you could say, if I was to call your boss, what would he say or what would she say about you and your time working there? So you're looking really to build out that sort of self-awareness piece, which I think is certainly really, really useful. I think beyond that, I mean, you can generally, most roles they come down to sort of 3 or 4 key skills, whether it's leadership, whether it's, commercial focus in relation to that sort of communication piece that I mentioned there. And then you're just probing maybe a little bit of a step within each of those areas. How have you gone about overcoming challenge in the past? I think I would be of the view that historical examples, stuff that people have done in the past and how they've gone about doing it, is probably the best predictor of the future, rather than asking someone how they'd handle, this or that. Because some people are brilliant, they're brilliant at sales, and therefore they could talk themselves almost into any job, because they're good at, they're quick at thinking on their feet.
Is there any kind of one piece of advice that you'd love to give to any clients looking to work with you in the future? Or
okay, on the employer side, as you know, look, we're big in the sort of employer value proposition piece. And I think that the various touch points that people have, during an interview process, I think they're all important. We had a client recently who put together like a really smart one-page PDF. It actually had the interviewer's picture on it. It had the address, the directions, the website. I just thought it was really, really smart. So I think, we're very lucky in Ireland, all the multinationals that exist, obviously got the Facebook, Amazon, the Googles, etc. And I think some companies can think to themselves, well, how are we going to compete with that? But if you think about it, every team really has their own employer value proposition. As you know, we have a documented program, which is a free resource base that people can access on engagepeople.ie. To me, I think that's really invaluable, and it makes our life so much easier. So rather than us, reading about us section on the website, which may or not be relevant or recent, if someone's able to say, well, look, we as a team, we've got together and we've identified that these are our major value propositions, and I think then that really speaks to the candidate. My own sort of values, as cheesy as they sound, are focus, which I think is just important. We have our Monday morning top 5 objectives, and that really sort of dictates, things of the week. The next piece for me would be fit. I suppose an element of physical fitness, to be able to take on the challenges. But I think, internally, for us to achieve the goals we want to achieve, I think that sort of fitness from a training perspective is really, really important. That we're constantly improving. As you know, we're all doing the McClatchie personality profiling test, and that's going to build up an awareness for each other. And we'll probably identify, maybe to a greater extent, our individual strengths. As you know, from a learning perspective, we all jumped into the Craig Savage book, and that was really useful learning experience now. And we're obviously putting together our strategy plans now for 2020 and then the coming 3 years. And then the final piece is fun. I think you have to enjoy things along the way. I think when we achieve great outcomes, as you know, Grace, we tend to enjoy ourselves. And it's hard at the moment. Obviously, we can't go to the local or the nearest restaurant that's just opened up, or go for a glass of beer or wine. But I think that if we work really hard during the week and we get great outcomes for our clients and candidates, then I think the fun aspect, it's made Engage People a great place to work.
Thanks for guiding us through this incredibly unique circumstance, and hopefully we'll all come out a little bit stronger.
Just say thanks very much, Grace. You're doing a super job at the moment. I know you joined us in January. No one would have expected that COVID-19 would have come in, and I think within the space of a week, you had us all organised, working remotely, and that, look at it, it's been a great success.
So thank you so much for your time today, Paul, and we'll see you soon.
Great. Thanks, Grace. Cheers.